Welcome to Psych Ward Crafts Time with Manic Matt. I am Manic Matt. All right, for every episode, I'm going to read a Bible verse. Today's Bible verse is from Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, which says, "Don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. With thankful hearts, offer up your prayers and requests to God." Let's pray. Dear Lord Jesus, I thank you for another day to be alive. I thank you to be a citizen of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. 250 years celebration. Hopefully we can continue, but who knows? I'm blessed to be in this time that we live, in the situation and circumstances that I have, and I'm thankful for this life that I have. And thank you. That's it. Just all gratitude. Amen. Let's talk about a movie I just saw. Michael Jackson. It's called Michael, I guess. It was really good. It mostly covers his younger years, time in the Jackson 5 when he was basically a child, and growing up, and then breaking out as a solo artist, and the early parts of that. And then it kind of cuts off. I was wanting to see more. I feel like they could have a part 2 of that movie and continue his life journey after that fact. But they kind of stopped it after that. I mean, which is fine, but it wasn't like a true, like, from his whole life story kind of biopic or whatever what you want to call that. But I think they did a good job. I really enjoyed it. The guy that did Michael Jackson apparently was actually a relative in the Jackson family. I'm not sure how he was related, but he did have a lot of brothers and sisters. So it was one of his, I don't know, nephews or something, maybe. Jafar Jackson, I think it was. He did a good job portraying Michael Jackson as an adult. And then whoever it was that played him as a kid did a good job as well. And it pretty much covered what everybody kind of knows about how Michael Jackson was, how he came up in the Jackson 5 with his very abusive and demanding father, who you obviously everybody knows that guy was a little bit over the top and abusive, but also, if he didn't do that, would Michael Jackson be anything? And it comes to that question of, like, how, if someone, well, there was a guy in that movie. I'm all over the place right now. I don't know how to broach the subject of this idea of, like, being basically almost being tortured into being successful, or like abused into being successful as a talented artist of some kind. Overall, I recommend it. I don't care if, I'm not a big, huge fan of Michael Jackson, but he is one of those, like, icons of culture that it doesn't matter if you're a fan of him or not. You know who he is. You know his music. You've seen it. You've heard it, whether you like it or not. And who doesn't like it? Like, I'm not a big, like, oh, I love the music. There's some songs I like and some I'm like, whatever. But It's not like my main pick of music, but you can't deny he is an undeniable music talent and a performer, not just a writer, singer. He like did the whole performance. He did it. He was everything, man. You gotta admire it. And as we were talking about earlier, like about how his father was an abusive, demanding, and kind of created the Jackson Five, and was very mean, and that depicted in the movie. I think they, honestly, I think they showed what they did to portray him as a abusive and demanding father who was doing it out of the, I don't know, he was looking for the success and money and getting to that next level of living with a different amount of money than he was like a factory worker, which I am right now. But that wasn't enough for him. Well, I can imagine. It's hard enough for me. I don't know what it was like in the 60s, whatever, 50s or whatever he was coming up, but to have five sons and however many daughters, like I don't think they believed in birth control. How many kids did that guy have? But he was like, he saw talent in his children and he brought it out of them and put it out to the world. And I think there was one part where they're like, screw school, we're going out on tour. We're gonna showcase these guys at clubs and bars and wherever they went to start their Jackson 5 band when they first got started. I don't know how. He just didn't care about nothing else but like success of that in the music industry. Saw it as a kind of a lottery ticket. And there are parents like that where they try to push their kids into some sort of success so they can benefit off of it. I mean, that happens. They couldn't do it themselves. So they push their kid into it. As like, I don't know. It seems not cool. But there's something to say about that. I mean, I feel like if you want to be successful in a certain form of art or entertainment, there might be a benefit to being treated like crap to get into it. Like, how does that work? When, let's say you're an athlete and you want to be the best basketball player or the best football player or whatever it is. You need someone to really kick your ass and make you work hard to be the best so that you can rise above everybody and become successful in that sport. It's not easy. There's so many people who have just more natural given talent, but they may not have somebody, or they may not have their own level of drive that you do, or somebody that pushes you to succeed in the way that you do. Like Michael Jordan is notorious for being like crazily driven to be the best, no matter what. Like, talk about whoever is the best basketball player. I think Michael Jordan, as a basketball player in the NBA, would have rose above everybody else that came to compete against him because he's a psycho. He had that mentality. I don't know if it was given to him or pushed into him other than he had it himself. I don't know. But Michael Jackson was driven by his father, but then I think he liked to perform. He liked to sing. He did enjoy it. He just wanted to do it in his own way. And that's when he broke out. That's what this movie's kind of about. That his father like was pushing him, and that his brothers did what they did because they were made to. But Michael Jackson, he himself loved, he started to really like it. He liked to perform, he liked to dance, he liked to sing. And one of the funny things about the movie was when he first started to like just record for records, he had to sit still because he couldn't help but dance during the recording, and like his foot movements and stuff would like get on the recording, and it would mess it up the recording. And they're like, stand still, please, stop dancing, stop trying to move so much. But he couldn't help it because that was part of his process to get in the groove of the song, and that was something he had to learn for recording for the album, was to not move so much and just sing. Just crazy, because is like the whole part of the performance is the dancing and all that stuff. You got to appreciate that. I love those type of movies. I like the biopics of people like that. Watched Jamie Foxx as Ray Charles. That was a good one. Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash. Also great. There's not many. Those are the ones I can remember. Those are music industry ones. There's others, I guess, in different industries. But Michael Jackson was pretty cool, the movie. Oh, there was a guy who basically became his manager after he finally fired his father as his manager, and he decided to start his solo career. And the guy that played him was Miles Teller. And he was in a movie called Drumline, where in a similar fashion, he was abused and basically tortured to become the best drummer in a orchestra. But the difference between that guy, that movie may not be based on a true story or not, I don't know. But the difference there is that guy signed up for that type of treatment. Then Michael Jackson was born into it. His father treated him like that to become the best musical performer. And in the Drumline movie, he was treated badly and abused to try to bring out the best in him as a drummer. But he wanted that. He kept coming back for the abuse. That's the difference there. Like in the Michael Jackson story, he could not escape it because it was his father and it was his family. And it was just the way it was. In the Drumline movie, Miles Teller went there. There is definitely something to that, though. The treatment of being almost abused to achieve some sort of perfection level in some art form. Or, it could be a sport, some fitness thing, some performance. You're abused, you're mistreated, you're degraded until you can perform at the elite level. Not even the elite level, above the elite, the best of the best, best you've ever seen. I have to beat it into you. I have to beat it out of you. Maybe there's a benefit to be encouraged by someone who would do that to you in order to be the best. Like, you want to be the best there ever was? I'm going to kick your ass. I don't know what. There might be something to it. Who knows? We're in a new age now, though, where minimal effort equals maximum reward. That's what people expect. You know what I'm a fan of? A good story. And that was a good story. And that was a good movie. And I recommend going to check it out. Hey, Shadow. Hey. You coming to see me? Hey, baby. Oh, baby girl. What's going on? So one of the things that one of the lines that Michael Jackson had in the Michael movie that kind of stuck to me, maybe in my own creative aspirations to be a writer and an artist in my own way, not like him at all, but he had the idea when he was starting out with his own, when he was starting in his own career, he had the idea like they wanted him to do more press and talk more and do more interviews and that and be more exposed to the public, I guess, and all that, you know. And he was like, nah, no more. I don't want to do interviews. I want to be mysterious and that type of stuff. And I want people to appreciate when they do see me. Like he had a line where he said, when if the Halley comet or some random, one of those once in a lifetime comets that comes every 100 years, I think it was the Halley comet he mentioned. If that came every year, would people be excited to see it every time it comes? So he thought maybe it would be better to take some time off to work on an album and then come out with it every couple of years or something like that, and then go on tour and not be always in the public eye all the time and do interviews all the time and just be more mysterious in that way, and get more of appreciation for when you do your performances and you come out with your albums, and not so much like you talking all the time, you're going on tour, you're doing everything too much. Now, he did do tours, but I think he just didn't want to do interviews as much and do press and do go on all the shows and talk shows and radio shows and try to promote himself because he wanted to be more mysterious. I like that. And I think some of the modern day artists could take a note from that book. Once you're established and you're known and you have your audience, you want to build it bigger, or I feel like I don't know I need to build an audience for what I'm trying to do, but I don't know what I'm going to do to get that. But I would like to do less, and I would like to do more of what I want and less of what I don't want in the public eye. That makes sense. Well, I don't know. I just like that. So let's take a second here, and we'll transition to doing some maze art.
Doubting Against Faith by Matthew Lee May. When Aiden walks free after 2 years behind bars, he carries more than a prison record. He carries questions about life, family, faith, and the darkness that clings to him. His cousin Stephen, a man struggling to hold his own life together, opens his door in an act of trust that will test everything they believe about loyalty, redemption, and what waits in the shadows of the mind. Set in the late 1990s, Doubting Against Faith blends family drama with unsettling psychological tension as ordinary lives collide with extraordinary fears. Through shifting loyalties, hidden truths, and an ever-tightening grip of the unknown, the story traces one man's fight to understand whether he's battling demons of the mind or something far worse. A gripping journey into doubt, belief, and the blurry line between reality and madness. This is a story about faith, when faith feels impossible. Available now on Amazon.
I was a fan of the Game of Thrones show, and I got the audio book. I would like to read books, but now it's hard to make the time for books anymore. But audiobooks, I can do that and like do some chores and things like that, and I can listen to audiobooks at work actually while I'm working at the factory. So I had got the original Game of Thrones book one audiobook, and I've been re-listening to that, and it's really good. And the show really stuck to what the book was. And I did some research to find out like when that fell off in the show series, because he's supposedly had promised to do 7 books, and he's got 5 out, which is pretty good if you ask me. But the last one came out in 2011, so he's been working on that the 6th book for a long ass time. Taking forever to finish it, but I don't know. He got successful, and now having trouble finding time to finish it. Because the first one came out in 1996, and it's really good. So I've been listening to the audiobook, which is narrated by this guy named Roy Dotrice. I think I'm pronouncing that. But the audiobook genre in itself is a whole different thing than like film or reading the book itself. This guy is talented in the way he reads the book. He does voices for characters. And one of the things I noticed about him in particular, this guy, the way he says no. Different characters say no for different reasons. He puts so much different emphasis on the meaning behind the no. When you hear no, the way he says it in different manners of the different characters that say it. And this is like a huge epic type of book with so many different multiple storylines going on, and they're kind of connected but they're separate. So the show does a good job, and the show that like helps me visualize it, and then that kind of thing. I think that's one of the things that helps me a lot in reading books, because the first books that I read were Star Wars, because it was based on Star Wars the movie, and it was easier to visualize the scenarios and the characters that were in the books because I had seen the movies. And it just like goes from there, and it helps, gives you like a starting point to visualize in your head about what it may look like, and that type of stuff. I can't imagine. Well, actually, I can now. You read a book and then you see a movie after you've read the book, and you're like, what? The Dark Tower series. I actually didn't read that one. I did the audiobooks of those. But then the movie came out, and it was like, what the heck is this crap? I don't know what it was. It felt like they were putting like, it's a 7-book series they were trying to compile into one movie. Or I don't know how. I didn't finish the whole series. The Dark Tower movie sucked compared to what the books were. Now, books were interesting and weird and sci-fi and strange, and they're actually more different than anything that Stephen King has put out. It's on a different type of level. But anyway, back to Game of Thrones. After season 4 starts to fall off of the original content. So I thought about, if I'm going to watch the show again, I'm just going to stop watching it after season 4. From what I heard and I researched, they kind of started season 5 was not based on the books as much, and it was based more on the notes of George Martin. So it was kind of like halfway. I don't know about what the books may or may not show. And then they took some liberties. They changed some things, like Lady Stark had a whole thing where she became a ghost. I'm going to listen to all 5 books of the audiobooks because he is a good writer, and you could tell why did the Game of Thrones series fall off so hard is because they ran out of source material, and they started to try to make up their own story after. And nobody's talented enough, and especially the vision that was created by the writer, no one could finish that properly without, or they didn't even do a good job. I'm assuming there might be a situation where someone could take over someone's vision and continue it and make it even better. But I've never seen that before. Has anyone ever seen that before? Does that even exist? Why would it? If you're so great at writing and creating stories, why wouldn't you make up your own? That's usually what happens. And not continuing something. But I have read a lot of good Star Wars novels that are, that are just part of the world. It's possible, I suppose. But it's not like epic levels of awesome. And of course it was up to HBO the way they decided to film it to show what they showed, and some of the violence and the depictions of the nudity. I mean, it was in the book, but it is up to the show creators to show it the way they did. And it's weird to me that they would find success in doing a show that's closely based on the source material of the books, and then slowly but surely stop doing that and start trying to do their own thing. Like, I guess I'll find out as I go in further into the book series how much they changed it for the show. But it seems to be always the case with these things. And I've heard about the newer series and George Martin's issues with how they are going off the rails, of doing their own stuff and not following the source material, even though it exists now. I don't know. It's upsetting to me. I think for creativity, you have to have a good collaboration with the people. And I don't know, he obviously he's getting paid, and he took his paycheck from the Game of Thrones series. But I don't know how much is that going to hurt his if he ever comes out with that sixth book. Now that the show has been a failure, it became a success and then a huge letdown as the series wrapped up, and it was so crappy, and you're like, this whole thing, what? And then I want to read the book. I want to read the sixth book, whatever it is called. But will it be better than? It has to be better than the show. It has to be better than what the show tried to do. Like they brought Jon Snow back to life. Will that happen? I think just based on the first season and the first book, people like Ned Stark because the guy that played him in the show was a really good actor, and people liked him. He was the guy from Lord of the Rings, but in the audiobook that I read, or not read, I listened to, there is a difference, I suppose, in reading and listening. He was too honorable, too sticking to what is right, up to a point. There's certain things that he kept to himself. Like the fact that he did. He should have been 100%. I think the problem with him is that he was not 100% honorable to the truth. He had some things that he kept hidden to himself, like the true identity of the mother of Jon Snow, and also how he didn't reveal to everybody that Joffrey was the incestuous child of Xerxes and Jaime, and not the true heir to the throne. Why would he keep that to himself, or not, say it to the right people, to everybody, especially at that last moment when he thought that if he confessed to being a traitor, that he would get to go to the wall and take the black, or whatever it was. Why didn't he just spill the beans right there? Like, you're not the real. He was too much of a stickler, and he didn't realize. He was trying to protect certain things and not others. I don't know. Either you come out with the whole truth, or you protect. If you're not going to come out with the entire truth of what's happening, whether you're wrong about it or not, the truth as you know it. Put it out there. Let everybody know what it is, what the truth is, and not try to protect certain people, and not protect yourself. I think he was just he was not good at this Game of Thrones, right? You want to think he was honorable, but he wasn't. He wasn't. He was kind of dumb, I think, in my assessment of how he played it out. Naive, dumb. I don't know. So I guess in the audiobook, his death did not come as big of a surprise as it did in the show, because in the show he was like one of the more awesome characters and people like that guy. But I guess it kind of set the tone for what Game of Thrones is about, and it's not about the idealistic, honorable person who will tell the truth, but hold certain truths to himself to protect the integrity of the certain people, but not himself. I don't know. I think he made bad choices, obviously. But anyway, I'm enjoying the audiobooks more than reading, if I'm being honest. And it's really has to do with the person who's reading, who's telling the story. And the guy that does the Game of Thrones is really good. And I've been trying to do my own audiobook of my own book. And I don't know if I'm good at this or not, but I hopefully will. Maybe I'll be good at it. I don't know. I haven't really got into it much. But dang, it's like a whole different genre. The voices that you can do for characters. It's interesting to make it more of a good story. I like telling stories, but in spoken form, that's a whole different thing than writing. And I'm trying to do the audiobook now. I've come up with a new writing procedure for my own books to do an audiobook version before I finalize the book, so that I can hear myself read it, and then I'll know it's good. Do you hear yourself read it out loud? Then you got it. Then you know it's good, and then I can finalize the whole thing, and it's good. But overall, I was a big fan of the Game of Thrones series up till I think I got real mad at when they the septum, like the religious people, try to take over the King's Landing and tell everybody what to do. Like they were beholden to the religious people to do what they say. For some reason, like as if the whole population of Westeros was very religious. I don't believe it. It didn't have that feeling to me that everybody was religious and beholden to their values of beliefs in their gods or what have you, to have that much power and sway over the queen, to do all this stuff. That made me like, what? That's ridiculous. I think, I don't know, in our world, in the real world, politicians will appease the religious, but they will not obey them. They will not bow down to the religious people to do what they say, but they will try to appease them in a certain way. Because most people aren't really religious. It's just a badge of honor to say, I'm a good person because I am religious and I go to church, I pray, I do this and that. It's a badge of honorable. I'm good. I do the right thing. That's when I really got mad, and that, of course, that's when it went off the rails, and it went off the subject of the main source material, which was the books. The showrunners had to come up with their own script.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with you,
loner
George. That's
with a
it.
society that abandons him.
Manic Matt.
Was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?